Here's what happened yesterday. This is Greece. In Greece, their treasury bills, their bonds, hit an all-time record high of 1,114%. What? They took the unusual step to indefinitely shut down bond trading. Things are happening so fast, and so many people are not going to have any clue as to what happened to them and what happened to all of the money. Where is all that lost money and economic collapses? It's got to go somewhere, right? It doesn't just vanish. See, that's where people like George Soros make off like bandits. Ooh, did I call him a bandit? Yes, I did. And it's a game to him. Not my money, in my words, his words. He thinks it's a game. The Fed did not pump money into banks and then encourage them to lend. They didn't do that. That's what the game they're playing. Hey, you know what we should do? We should have the Fed give these banks a lot of money so they could take it out to the average person. No. That's the media game that we've all been buying into. What the Fed actually did was a sneaky way to monetize our debt, our government spending. Remember when I talked about the velocity of money? It was about 4 years ago, and I said, you know, you really have to worry about the velocity of money. That's when the Fed, let me bring the jib up here so you can kind of see down here a little bit. That's when the Fed prints all of the money, and they give it to the banks, and then the banks lend it to you, and then you spend it at the mall. Got it? Nobody wants to do that because that's the velocity of the money. And when money is starting to spread around, that's when high inflation happens. However, if the Fed would have given it to the bank and then lend it out to you, and you were more Japanese in your thinking, and you either put that money back in the bank or under the mattress, it would have no velocity. So you wouldn't have inflation. You could keep printing and printing and printing, but nobody was spending it, so you wouldn't have inflation. It's when people start to spend it that it's a problem. Now, I've been telling you for a while, they're doing all the things that the Weimar Republic did. No, they did something a little more clever, a little more crafty, a little more, evil. They haven't wanted the money to go out. It's not about inflation. It's really not about you. It's not about saving jobs at the malls or little mom and pop stores. It's not about that. It's not about your gas prices. It's nothing. It's about racking up debt. So how do you do it? How do you get the money to continue to spend? Because China is just about done. Think of this. Here's Bernanke. He's over at the Fed. He says, oh, you've got real problems. You know what you need? You need more assets. You need to have more stuff to cover all the loans that you've given to Peter, Paul, and Mary. You got to have more stuff. Well, the banks say, well, I don't have any more stuff. You know what? I'm going to lend you the money at 0%. You just go ahead and take that because you got to have that on your bottom line. So they print a whole bunch of money and they loan it to the banks at 0%. And the banks put it over here, and they're like, that's great. Then the president gets on TV and says, hey, we gave all that money, and you're not giving it to the people, so they can't go out and buy it. It was never intended to do that. Here's where it gets crafty. The bank doesn't have cash here. No. The bank wants to make money. Can't really make any money unless you loan it out, or unless you buy something of value that has an interest rate on it. Yeah, I know what you could do with all this money. You could take this money that you have in your vault and you could buy treasury bonds. And then you get a bunch of paper here, and then all that cash is here. Oh my gosh. Then what you do is you've given the Fed all this money because you've bought U.S. savings bonds, U.S. treasury bonds, and they give it to the government to spend. You see? The bank isn't sitting on that money. The bank bought treasuries. So the Fed could then finance all of the spending the government is doing. It was never intended to get to you. Don't blame the banks. Blame the Fed. It explains everything you want to know. Why the markets keep going up, right? There's a pattern with quantitative easing. Every time the system is injected with cash, what happens? Oh, look at this. Okay, QE1 is expanded. Look at the stock market. Then it ends, starts to go down. Then it begins again, and it goes down. They're just playing games with funny money. And because it's a Band-Aid, when they inject cash in, it eventually comes down, and it covers their tracks, and they inject it again. Yesterday was a mini awakening. The stocks crashed yesterday because of those Greek one-year treasury notes going over 1,000%. That doesn't make any sense. People realized Greece was still screwed. And the market said, I'm not buying, I'm not investing in Greece. I'll never get my money back. No, give us your money for a year and we'll give you, if I would have bought a dollar bond note on Greece yesterday, in a year you're going to pay me $1,114 for the use of my dollar today? That's wimpy going to Popeye. I'll surely pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. It ain't going to happen. The only way that you could actually pay these bonds off is to hyperinflate the money. This time it's not just to buy the bonds. This time it would go out to pay off the bond holders, and then we're all screwed. The banks, or the markets, I should say, were forced to recognize this yesterday. There's no way to avoid it. Europe's screwed. But if you're in on the game, you're going to be okay if you're one of the elites. You see, what we're building now in America, and it's happening all over the globe, is what Putin built in Russia. It's called an oligarchy. Soros is the top of the food chain. He takes his money and he runs. Because here's the anatomy of the crime. Here's the pattern. The government injects the cash because there's a crisis. They claim the crisis is solved. The schlubs like you and me, we put our money because we start to see the markets go up. Oh, we got to invest our 401ks and all our hard-earned money there. The markets go up. The elites get rich. They ride the wave just until things start to turn south. They have so much money in it, they can make it go south once they pull their money out. They bail before it collapses. You, the schlub, me, the 401k, the retirement accounts get plundered, and this guy gets rich. That's how Soros netted an increase of almost $8 billion last year. Think of that, $8 billion? Betting on what? What are the odds? Somebody call Vegas. You should get at a gaming table. He also was $1 billion richer for one night on the crash of the pound. Think of the globe as a giant casino created with your money. People like George Soros, he's the house. And he's enticing you to get your chips on the table. Oh, this time you're going to be a big winner, knowing that the house always wins. There are also reports that George Soros was the mystery investor who bet $1 billion that the U.S. would lose its AAA credit rating. That was a 10-to-1 odd. Boy, I wish I would have put my money. I didn't even know you could make that bet. I wish I would have done that, because I knew it too. Occupy Wall Street has no credibility because they will never take on George Soros. They never will, because he funds them. Indirectly, he does. And he has to scare people into silence. He has to kick dirt over his own tracks. He does it by having people talk about fat cats, the measly millionaires on Wall Street. Because if you're talking about them, then you're not talking about the real fat cats, the people like George Soros that walk away scot-free. You'll never hear about his heist. You'll never hear about Wall Street's bonuses. Well, unless you read the paper, then that seems to be the biggest deal. The bonuses. You know, the bonuses are only down 13% despite the tough economy, and they still make 5 times what the average worker makes. Have you ever seen that? Main Street struggles. Wall Street still gets bonuses, the headlines will read. Meanwhile, George Soros is like an alien in all those scary Aliens Invade the Earth movies who just want to suck up all the resources and then move on to the next planet. Wall Street bankers are getting measly bonuses. Soros is gobbling up entire countries and soon the globe. He has about 4 or 5 countries under his belt already. He's been labeled an economic terrorist in the past by the Prime Minister of Malaysia. He collapsed the British pound and made billions off it.